Content warning. Today's video is going to be discussing some pretty big and at times unpleasant topics and tweets because of what has been going on at Twitter of late, including white supremacy, racism, homophobia, and the kind of yobbish behaviour you wouldn't want to share at the dinner table with your grandmother. To that end, you may want to review this video before watching or sharing it with vulnerable or impressionable audience members. Viewer discretion is advised. We are a clean transportation channel. We're brand agnostic, and while I like my Kia Niro EV, I'm just as happy for you to ride around in your MG4, your Tesla Model Y, or your Ford Mustang Mach-E. If you're zipping to work in your 320km/h bullet train, or cutting a dashing figure on a Brompton e-bike on your way into W1A, good on you. Or if you're just slipping through the congestion on your e-scooter, or actually, frankly, if you're taking Shank's pony from the bedroom to your home office to avoid a car journey to your exciting role developing genuine people personalities at the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation, we are all super thrilled. Basically, if we're going to keep this pale blue dot habitable instead of all having to shoot off to Mars, then we all need to be making more appropriate transportation choices at a personal and national level that produce less carbon dioxide and are more equitable to boot. And so we've covered everyone from Aptera through to Zen, and yes, we've covered Tesla. A lot. In the last month, though, we've held off making much in the way of a comment on Tesla's dropping share price, or indeed Elon Musk's recent acquisition of Twitter, because as many of you are keen on reminding us, we are a transportation channel, not a political channel. And Tesla isn't Elon Musk, and Elon Musk isn't Tesla. But while Tesla existed before Elon Musk was brought in as an angel investor by its original co-founders Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning, separating Tesla from Musk has always been hard, especially when there was a very drawn-out court case establishing that Musk was, in law, a Tesla quote-unquote co-founder. But today we're going to talk about the rock and the hard place that Tesla now finds itself in as a consequence of spending nearly 19 years joined at the hip with Elon, how that appears to be backfiring as a consequence of Elon's recent actions, and what lies ahead. Especially since Elon's purchase of Twitter was what's known as a leveraged buyout, where some of the money Musk borrowed to buy Twitter was raised by loans backed by Elon's still sizable Tesla stock holding. We've generally avoided talking about Elon Musk before because, well, Musk himself has inspired a certain cult of personality, and with Tesla issuing most marketing spending, although recently it has been spending some on Google advertising, the erstwhile head of the company has very much been its face. While Nikki was originally on quite cordial terms with Elon, that's changed over time. Ever since she asked Elon Musk if Tesla would indemnify autopilot drivers from a crash if the car was operating in full self-driving mode at the time of impact, just as Volvo had promised it would, and Elon's response was, well, Despite that unfortunate interaction, we've always tried to be fair to Tesla, as we try to be with all automakers. We give praise where praise is due, and criticism when criticism is due. But when we've criticised Musk, we've been accused of hating Tesla, which is very much not the case. Since his purchase of Twitter, however, Elon has engaged in some behaviour which is, we think, putting Tesla into a very tricky situation, and has got us to a point where we feel we have something of a duty as commentators in this space to say more than just what happened. We feel we need to join the dots. But before we get to that, let's see how we got here. And it's going to take a little bit before we circle back to Tesla, so bear with me. It's not like I'm asking you to sit through some of Paula Nancy Millstone Jennings' poetry, but you can always skip forward to this point. That said, because the following history lesson provides important context to Elon's most recent actions, I would suggest you watch it. Born in South Africa to Canadian and South African parents, he moved to Canada in the late 80s before eventually moving to the US to study. In the mid-90s, Elon's father provided the funding for Elon and brother Kimball to found Zip2, a company that they later sold to Compaq for $207 million, of which Musk himself received $22 million for his 7-ish% share. That sale provided the funding which eventually led to Musk's part in X.com, which later became PayPal, and the money from that became the funding for SpaceX and his later investment in Tesla. He's been widely regarded as an angel investor, and he's often been talked about as someone who founded or had the insight to invest in multiple billion-dollar companies. There's no point beating about the bush. He's been an incredibly successful entrepreneur. And he's the man who's taken Tesla from being a niche automaker, producing gorgeous Lotus-based electric roadsters, to a mainstream prestige brand with the largest chunk of the EV pie. Not only that, but Tesla as a brand has certainly been responsible for shifting the pop culture idea of an EV from something weird and slow to something that's fast and potentially even sexy. That's not to say that there haven't been flies in the ointment. And before we start down this path, let's be clear. I am not a lawyer. I don't play a lawyer on TV or on YouTube. I don't even cosplay a lawyer on PixelFed. Although if you need someone to play a bit part lawyer up against Tatiana Maslany in She-Hulk, I'm totally up for that. Marvel? Call me. That said, once more into the breach, dear friends, and we are at this point well into the conjoined history that is Tesla under Elon Musk. At this point, everything is both Tesla and Elon. When Tesla purchased SolarCity, a company founded by one of Elon Musk's cousins, SolarCity was facing liquidity problems. And while the Tesla shareholder lawsuit surrounding that purchase, based on the claim that Musk had been inappropriately involved in the process as a, quote, conflicted fiduciary, meaning that he had fingers in both the Tesla pie and the SolarCity pie, so shouldn't be involved pretty much at all in the purchase of one by the other, that ended up ruling in favour of Tesla and Elon Musk. Now, from what I know of Delaware's Chancery Court, an appeal is unlikely to succeed, but does remain a possibility. But even so, that ruling has been fairly harshly criticised because it rests on whether Tesla paid a fair price, not whether it was appropriate for Tesla to buy SolarCity at all. And that is just one of Elon and Tesla's recent lawsuits. And it's important to quickly cover some of the others before we get to Twitter, because Musk's management style is one which often chafes against legal and statutory requirements. Perhaps most famously, there's the funding secured at 420 tweet. This led to a Securities and Exchange Commission's consent settlement with Elon. A consent settlement or consent decree is an agreement or settlement that resolves a dispute between two parties without admission of guilt or liability. In this case, the agreement revolves around Elon's tweets on a large number of company-related topics being checked by lawyers before being sent. And an ongoing case exists about that, which is currently on hold because of another case in which stockholders have lodged a class action lawsuit. While it's pretty unlikely that the stockholders' case will succeed, that case basically states that Tesla's board of directors breached their fiduciary duty because they've all got a bit matey with Musk, and folks are beginning to be concerned that they don't have the independence needed to make decisions that don't align with their friend Musk's plans. There are also multiple ongoing complaints about mostly Elon's representations about full self-driving, both his annual claim that it's coming next year and his somewhat exaggerated claims of its current level of ability. Those cases about Tesla's vehicles' abilities that have made it to judgment and which have relied on Elon's statements have often failed, because while Elon may say many things, Tesla has been very careful in its literature. Did we mention at the beginning that Elon is not Tesla and Tesla is not Elon? And all that would seem to tie in with the fact that it's been alleged that companies which have Elon Musk as the CEO are carefully structured to make sure that Musk himself can still guide decisions, but is also removed from the day-to-day running of the company. As one post that went viral claimed of SpaceX, managing Elon was a huge part of the company culture, as was creatively reinterpreting his requests. And that's before we even mention the 160 plus complaints from workers against Tesla and ongoing large cases regarding sexual and racial harassment, including workers being called the N-word, being denied promotions because of race, and a lot of other very unpleasant stuff, about which we made a whole video, linked up here and below, because apparently we're the only automotive channel that cared. And yes, we acknowledge there are other automakers whose factories have historically and sometimes recently faced similar accusations, and as a channel we will endeavour to highlight these as they come to court, but saying other companies have this issue as an excuse, that doesn't fly here. Whether or not commentary about the Elon avoidant measures in place at companies he heads is true, his recent purchase of Twitter has placed him at the head of a social media company which advertisers are currently fleeing. About 50% of the top 100 have put their ad buys on hold as of writing this, citing concerns around their brands and offensive content appearing next to advertisements, and which did not have a management team used to Musk's style of management, nor staff willing to, quote, go hardcore, but does have incredible reach. And therein lies part of the problem. Musk's move fast and break things management style appears to have breached Twitter's Federal Trade Commission consent decree, which was a result of the Twitter hacks in 2009. That agreement requires security analysis prior to any new Twitter products or significant service changes, and requires Twitter to provide a yearly assessment to the FTC. Hello, Future Kate here, and I have a little bit of an update. Not, unfortunately, a good one, but one which I think adds context, which is important to that video that is behind me and that this clip is going to go into. I was all ready to push it. It was ready to be rendered and pushed, and then, late last night, it was reported that Elon Musk has chosen to basically disband or near disband the child protection team, and the COVID misinformation policy is gone. These are also things which I don't think are going to benefit Twitter's user experience, and they're not going to make it a more pleasant or safe place to be. And I think that adds some more context to this video. I'm just going to drop this in because unfortunately I don't have time to refilm the whole lot, but I hope you understand why I felt it was important. It's possible that in firing so many staff, many of whom were apparently responsible for trying to meet the requirements of the decree, and introducing changes without apparently completing the required security analysis, or seemingly in contravention of the departing security team's advice, Musk may have opened Twitter up to billions of dollars in fines. And this links back to that Tesla shareholder suing over Musk's pay settlement. During that lawsuit, which is ongoing, Musk appeared to indicate that he doesn't feel that he has to abide by consent decrees, stating that agreements made under duress are not a valid foundation for law. He made this comment in court in reference to the Securities and Exchange Commission's consent decree following the now infamous funding secured at 420 tweet that we discussed earlier. To those watching his behaviour at Twitter, it appears he's applying the same lackadaisical approach to meeting the requirements of the FTC as he has to the SEC. But the FTC has rather more teeth than the SEC, so this could be a significant legal risk for Twitter and even for Elon Musk himself. The FTC has worked with the DOJ in the past, and it doesn't seem, at least from the outside, like Musk is paying much heed to that risk. We would also be remiss not to note that Musk fired almost 4,000 Twitter employees in a mass layoff. This, it seems, has breached multiple countries' laws, including the US's own Federal Workers Adjustment and Retraining Act, placed Twitter's position within the European Union in jeopardy, and again opened Twitter and Musk himself up to a significant number of legal challenges. And as on the icing on this particular cake, Elon has said he wants to personally approve individual work-from-home requests for Twitter's remaining employees, which means he'll have to stay in line with a bunch of laws relating to discrimination and worker rights that I suspect he doesn't have substantial grounding in. I mean, Twitter operates in many countries and states, and I have enough trouble keeping up with just the state that I'm in. Okay, so all this is very well, and I was going to say good, but it's obviously not. But what's it got to do with Tesla? Well, there's one final piece to this puzzle, and that's the fact that while Elon has repeatedly claimed to be a free speech absolutist, he's interacted positively with what we'll call right-wing extremists, because the algorithm doesn't like the specific word associated with the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Elon's tweeted things that might be, or commenting or responding favourably on things that are far-right memes, while often with what could be termed plausible deniability. His tweets have included Pepe the Frog, for example, which is very often used in right-wing memes, but is also used outside of that realm. The number 88, which has popped up in Musk's tweets, is also used by nationalists to refer to the specific salute used by the former leader of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, but also could just mean 88. And his interaction with those who replied to his most recent 88 tweet, who called out other right-wing dog whistle numbers, the number of people that died in the Holocaust, a particular phrase in a particular former German leader's speech, it could just be an absence of knowledge, or it could be that he knows full well what they mean. Similarly, his reference to himself as Elon Musk, along with photos of, it turns out, non-functional guns, is that trolling, or is that actually a deliberate reference to tweets suggesting that people should get out guns if the election doesn't go the way they think it should? It's very difficult to tell, but the Twitter safety team's en masse departure and the anecdotally reported, and in my case personally experienced, increase in hate speech and return of previously banned individuals certainly makes it feel like Twitter under Elon is pivoting to meet the demands of a far-right audience, something that certainly goes along with Musk's endorsement of right-wing extremist candidate Ron DeSantis, a candidate which, we'd like to remind you, has helped Florida turn back the clock on civil rights issues such as women's health care, abortion access, LGBTQ+ rights, and the very foundation of US democracy, voting rights. Now look, I know by now you're all wondering what on earth Elon's latest fascination with Twitter has to do with Tesla. Well, as I mentioned back at the beginning of this video, back when all this was fields and I had to walk uphill both ways to school, separating Elon Musk and Tesla has always been difficult. You only have to watch one of Tesla's live-streamed events, from Musk piloting the Model S Plaid to his front and center placement during AI and Battery Day. Tesla has allowed Elon Musk to portray himself as the core identity of the brand. He's very much been the face, much more so than pretty much any other automotive CAO I can name. Even Herbert Diess with his watery antics didn't come close. Musk has also served as the CEO longer than any other automotive CEO that I can think of, at least in recent times, and as Elon's behaviour has become more erratic and his time potentially gets sucked up by Twitter's likely increasing legal jeopardy, Tesla's board of directors is going to have to make a hard decision. Especially as I noted at the start of this video, a sizable chunk of the $44 billion Musk paid for Twitter is coming from loans backed by Tesla stock. Then there's the fact that Elon likes being fast and loose with his tweets. That 88 million year ago tweet that we showed a few seconds ago may have been completely innocent, although the almost immediate torrent of coded responses from extremists most certainly wasn't. But Musk also tends to tweet first and think second. That's one of the things that got him in so much hot water with the SEC over the going private at 420 tweet. Since taking over Twitter, he's retweeted a known false conspiracy theory about the attack on Paul Pelosi, husband of the House Speaker, and while he deleted that tweet, he didn't apologise or rescind it. And just last week, he tweeted a photoshopped headline from CNN, something that Twitter's own fact-checking team highlighted as false, and that CNN's PR team had to tell him wasn't true. And if he does that with non-Tesla things, will he start being that fast and loose with facts about Tesla? History certainly suggests he might. But the real question is Elon Musk capable of continuing to devote the time and energy needed to run Tesla effectively? Especially if, as seems increasingly likely, he's ending up spending quite a lot of time in court with lawyers dealing with the legal challenges to one of his other companies. And if, as seems likely, he continues to court controversy with Twitter, at what point will the negative impacts on Tesla become more of a liability than a benefit? I'm just about to start talking about Teslastans and Elonstans. The suffix stan comes from the rap song by Eminem about a super obsessed fan. We, and by that I mean the entire team, want to make it very clear that we're not talking about your run-of-the-mill Tesla owner, stockholder, or even someone who thinks that what Tesla the company is doing is just fabulous. Or we're talking about the obsessive folks, often not Tesla owners or stockholders, who will blindly follow Tesla and Elon Musk regardless. While they do not speak for the majority of Tesla owners, customers, and stockholders, they are most certainly the folks who make the most noise and thus get noticed. As we've known on this channel for a long time, Elonstans and Teslastans are some of the most vocal and frequent defenders of Tesla. When concerns from owners arose regarding Tesla's quality control, Teslastans were at the forefront of pushing back. When complaints were made about changes to the UI, the Teslastans were there, front and center, explaining why having common functions only accessible either by voice or using a multi-touch menu-driven approach was the best approach. And when investigations into racism and sexism at Tesla opened up, the Teslastans were there explaining how it was all fine actually because Tesla is saving the planet. Whatever criticisms have been leveled against Elon or against Tesla, his army of stands have been there to deflect or defend. But a small minority of those stands have been incredibly destructive. Our media server and websites bear the scars of previous cyber attacks following relatively mild criticisms of Tesla or Elon Musk. We all at the channel know that this video is not going to go over well with a certain group of Tesla fans, and we know that can lead to denial of service attacks, vitriolic hate-filled emails, and threats of actual violence. And just as has been commented on before, we know that people will say that we hate Tesla. We don't. And they will say that we hate Elon Musk, and certainly people who advocate for policies and politicians that would see me dead aren't top of my Christmas list, but I have better things to do than waste too much time on people so weak as to see difference as a threat. But if we get that, the thing is, if Tesla's board of directors or shareholders start to think that letting Elon go is the right thing to do, they will be facing a barrage of negative commentary and most likely actual attacks. Attacks on Tesla's servers, on their data centers, attempts to find exploits that harm Tesla's cars. They'll most likely find their own staff, any that even remotely hint that it's appropriate to remove Elon Musk, are the subject of repeated and personal attacks. And just as Elonstans were quick to defend Tesla vehicles, they may turn against them. And that will be incredibly challenging to weather. But if Elon Musk continues to behave as he has of late, the Tesla brand could become increasingly toxic in the eyes of consumers wanting an ethical vehicle. While for some that's not really a concern, for others Tesla has often appealed as the only ethical choice when other automakers have such a poor history on the climate or on human rights. With the potential for Elon's Teslastans being at war with the company they once loved and an increasingly diversified market segment, who knows how it will end? But it doesn't look like it will be good for anyone. What do you think? Is Elon's persona on Twitter simply trolling that doesn't really matter? Is he still the man to lead Tesla into an even brighter future? Or is this all one hot mess that will force him out of Tesla? Let us know in the comments below. And on that note, we're done with today's video. If you liked it, you know what to do, and feel free to tip us with a super thanks. The comments are open for your thoughts, politely, as is our Discord chat room, link down there. If you want more, subscribe, hit the bell, and follow the links below to regularly support us with a YouTube membership or Patreon subscription. You'll also find links to our Ko-fi, Bitcoin, and Swag store, and check us out on Mastodon. We have our very own server. Scrolling by on my right is our list of amazing charged up supporters, and shoutouts go to our self-driving tier supporters: Mike Weeder, Patrick Boyarski, Chris Maxwell, Brian Newton, Michael Goad, Bennett Elder, Andrew Martin, Pedro Muro Pinheiro, Brophy Wolf, Chris and Michael Johnson, Tesla in the Gong, Dan Blair, Peter Dillinger, Gordon C., Stephen O'Donoghue, Kyle Hodgson, Anthony Coates, Raging Fellows, Denny Hyde, Chris Ascenta, and Jim Burness. Finally, out of this world thanks to our Starman supporters: Andrew Glenn, Anonymous Freak, JP Fagerback, Joe Bresney, John Lyons, Rory Litwin, Kevin Burrowbridge, Dave Kitchen, Laura Reynolds, Marcel Ward, Matthew Drobnak, Paul Conway, Reggie Watts, Will Graylan, and of course, Ian. We'll be back soon with more videos, but until then, Keep evolving.